whether you will actually manage to finish in 15 seconds very dependent on your bank.
Yeah.
So, there might not be too many people that can actually finish in such a short time.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the final 5 episode for Cards Against Complexity. Victoria is here from Trustly. Welcome to the podcast, Victoria.
Thank you for having me. And it's, of course, last but not least, right?
Last but not least, very, very surely. We already joked about destroying the equipment here and doing other fun things. But as we're closing down the conference, I think we are actually up for an exciting conversation on open banking, on building open banking at Trustly, but also your journey to Trustly, the role of your new platform in there, and many, many other things. Before we go into all those details, would love to get to know you a bit more. Tell us who you are, what's your role at Trustly, and also what does Trustly do?
Yes, I'm Victoria. I'm head of DACH currently of Trustly. We are the leader in open banking. So we've been a provider since 2008. In fact, we've been founded very early, even before PSD2, which is funny because so Ford did the same thing in Germany, right? And we are from Sweden. So we started off with open banking before PSD2 was even there, where everything happened with screen scraping and web scraping, so we're happy that now it's an official payment method, so to say.
It helps to get standards. I mean, that's the case everywhere, latest in crypto, but we have this, we get standardization, but we also have to create it in the beginning. Would love to talk about this journey in a bit, maybe, before we jump into this and your journey, let's go into cards. Like I was about to think, let's go into Trustly. I actually want to go to the cards because I had a sneak peek and I would love to kick us off with this. I'll share the screen here. 1 second. So for everyone who doesn't know this game yet, Cards Against Complexity, similar to Cards Against Humanity on the left-hand side, we've got a card that needs completion. It's a sentence.
Yes.
You've got 3 options on the right-hand side. They're not perfect options, but you got to choose one. Let's see what we've got here. So Trustly improves its one-click checkout experience. The feature that increases conversion rate most is... This is playing a satisfying ka-ching sound if you complete the payment. It could be quite nice. Giving a 10% discount if you finish checkout in under 15 seconds. Or an AI chatbot that convinces you this is a smart financial decision that you just made.
I would go with B, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it would trigger more people to choose open banking as a payment method.
Yeah.
Whether they will, it could also be a very cheap option because whether you will actually manage to finish in 15 seconds very dependent on your bank.
Yeah.
So, there might not be too many people that can actually finish in such a short time.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I mean, with one-click experiences, you'll get there. So I would definitely do that.
Put some good fun time pressure, a little game, have this little countdown, get some fireworks when it's all done.
Yes.
So we can see that happening. And I would maybe put the ka-ching still at the end. I mean, we could still combine it. Why not? Make it a real experience.
You should have the function, if someone's in an office to not have a ka-ching sound, because then people would know that you're online shopping.
Especially if it's going regularly.
Exactly. It's like every hour there's a ka-ching.
And that's, this would be the newest innovation. But going back to your journey and Trustly's journey, actually, there's been so much innovation. I mean, Trustly was established 2008. Yeah. So it's been quite a journey since. What have you seen also probably at your time at Klarna before, but overall in Trustly's journey as the evolution in the market, especially, I think, in Germany?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question. If we look at Germany, if we look at the payment split we have right now, right, we have cards that don't really play a huge role here. I thought about this. Why is that the reason? Because we did have EC cards. They were just recently taken over by debit cards at the end of the day. So when e-commerce started in Germany, we had cards that weren't really capable of doing online shopping. Yeah. So then PayPal came along, different story, right? It's a wallet, has huge adoption in Germany, maybe also because of the cards topic. But then the rest of the payment methods, one of the main payment method in e-commerce is invoice, as we call it in Germany. Yeah. Fancy new term, buy now, pay later. Yeah. And Invoice essentially gave consumers the possibility to shop at an e-commerce store they have never shopped before. Yeah. I think when e-commerce started as well, there wasn't Trustpilot. There wasn't like so many companies where you knew, okay, this is a legit e-commerce. So, they were giving away they were giving the consumer the possibility to choose a payment method without any risk. Yeah. So the risk lied completely on the merchant side. And that has evolved towards by now Pay Later and Klarna really taking over as a branded payment method, that space. And the last two payment methods we've seen was Lastschrift, so direct debit, which is a very famous and very beloved payment method by Germans. Also because you have a lot of possibilities to get the money back in case something happens. And then the last one, Sofortüberweisung, so pay by bank. Yeah. But what do Invoice, Lastschrift, or direct debit and Sofortüberweisung, pay by bank have in common? They're all based on your bank account. Yeah. They're all bank-based payment methods. Yeah. So I think that the evolution of paying with your bank directly, instantly, or even you have an invoice, but then later you do an open banking transfer, so to say, it all comes down to your bank account and you pay with it. Yeah. So I think it's very interesting when I talk to merchants and they're saying to me, some merchants are saying, hey, we're not there yet. Like, we're risk averse. We don't want to test open banking yet. Yeah. I'm like, it's nothing new in Germany, even though we might be a Swedish company, but Sofortüberweisung, paying by bank, it's so common in Germany. You're not risking anything. Yeah. So.
But that's, I guess, like technology adoption in Germany, in Europe. I mean, in many countries, sometimes takes some time. Now, having said that, you've been around for some time, around in Germany also since quite a number of years. Yes. But you're using a slightly different approach, right? You're really looking at end customers as well and the experience there. Maybe you can tell us a bit more about this.
Yeah, I think the whole topic around white label and branded, I think it's a very interesting one. If we look at where Trustly comes from, again, Sweden and the Nordic countries, we have established a relatively strong brand in those markets, also because we've been there for so many years. Same thing in the Baltics, and now we're going into Germany more. We've, in fact, been here for many, many years, but now we're, there's more momentum now again, and Sofortüberweisung, so to say, leaving the market or completely being absorbed by the Klarna way of payments. And then we had PayDirect and CharaPay, they are all leaving. So the momentum is simply there. What we're doing here is, of course, we need to show the consumer, hey, we are the person you're doing a transaction with. Yep. For now, we still want to use the naming and the branding that works the best. If you start with a new payments brand, if we say Trustly, for example, and the customer clicks on it, but they don't know what Trustly is initially. Yeah. So the question is, will we and can we build a direct-to-consumer brand? Currently, our idea and strategy is in Germany that we'll go with, pay by bank. Yeah. So consumers know what they're expecting. Mm-hmm. And we also want to ensure that the customer journey we're creating is based on the merchant branding as well a bit. Yeah. So we're going into that direction simply to have a more unified and more clear payment journey for the end consumers. Yeah.
That's a step-by-step approach. Often when we think about financial service and fintech rollout in Europe, especially different languages, regulation, culture, very critical in this one. Having said that, there's so much standardization to be had as well. One thing you've recently announced is the Azura platform. And that's pretty much coming out of a history since 2008, building this platform yourself, now productizing it. Tell me more about this.
Yeah. So in all endeavors that we have, we always want to put the consumer first, right? And that's also the strategy per market. We need to look at localization and how do consumers pay and how do consumers react to payments in a given market. But what we see across all markets is, of course, we need to have a lean consumer journey and the customer wants to be recognized. So we've built, I think we announced Azura in 2023 and really launched it last year. Yep. And what Azura does is it recognizes consumers across platforms and across platforms, across merchants, and across devices. And you get a repeating and the returning customer journey, even though you've never shopped at that merchant, for example. Yeah. And we create all of that. It's a data-driven platform, so to say, connected with machine learning. We're trying to optimize it. For example, you might have a couple of bank accounts that you have shopped before with us. Yeah. So we need to check, okay, is it the most relevant for that vertical, or are we choosing the last one that you chose? Which one are we pre-filling for you, so to say? Yeah. And this is all in order to create a recurring customer journey while at the same time not creating a user account. Yeah. I think that's a key part. We do see other payment methods, specifically branded ones, where you have to create a consumer account, but that also adds friction. And specifically where we do have some friction with certain APIs from banks that have not been too optimized yet, right? We need to decrease the friction. So our key goal is to have the best recurring open banking experience and the fastest checkout experience. We do perceive it as, similar to Apple Pay, and it should be as easy as Apple Pay.
15 seconds, right? We just said
15 seconds. But we always have to keep in mind that we're, of course, dependent on the banking flow.
Yeah. And that's like the banking flow. I mean, this is where all the, this is Cards Against Complexity, right? This is where all the complexity lies. That's why I found this whole story around Azura very interesting. Now you're doing this across different markets. You do this in Germany right now. You try to abstract away all that complexity, even remove the login flow. What remains? What's the thing that you can't abstract away, or what's the thing that you even want to keep for customers to trustly, I guess?
Yeah. So what we can't take away is the actual payment initiation that a customer still needs to do in their banking environment. So we can't take that away. What we try to have the highest security. So the question is, if we could, would we want to take it away? In Finland, for example, we launched an interesting product now that allows us, when the consumer signed up once into their account, at a gaming merchant, for example, they have a gaming account there. They signed up once for an account information service. So the data aspect of open banking, right? Where you just log into your bank account. We can extract data if you give us the consent. Yeah. So you do that once, and then whenever you try to log in again into your bank account, we save that data as well. And you can log in through Face ID. Yeah. And so I think Face ID and the whole biometric verification has also given consumers trust, maybe even more than some passcode or, I don't know, a password, for example, because it's your unique fingerprint or your unique Face ID. And so that's something we want to keep for sure, because you can't take away all complexity, because then it opens up for fraud again and for unsafe for payments.
Yeah. Very cool. I mean, I would love to even dive much deeper there. We cannot, but there's one other area I would love to touch on. So you joined Trustly end of last year, and you're leading now the DACH team, leading expansion here. But you had a few steps before to get there. Maybe talk us through, there's probably a couple of listeners that are a bit earlier in their careers. Yeah. And might say one day I want to build something like this as well, because there's something really cool and entrepreneurial about building a market and growing a market. So what took you there, or what would you say is your advice to your younger self to say, okay, if you want to end up here one day, this is where I would focus on?
So my personal take is, and I think the way I came into payments, which essentially was a key part of me joining Trustly, was being active on LinkedIn. And I've been doing this more recently as well. And it really helps you a lot to connect to people. But back then I initially worked at booking.com, which was my first job after university. And it really helped me to get into the whole, tech space, so to say. And I got into booking.com because I had a background in hospitality due to my parents. So that was an easy connection to make, but it opened up the world of tech to me, and then moved from Vienna to Berlin. And at some point I knew, okay, I can't grow anymore. So I was looking for a new job. And it was literally a pink logo, which was Klarna's logo. I didn't know Klarna back then. It was just a logo that I saw. So employer branding is key. I can tell you that for every company. And then I joined and I just got somewhat stuck in that whole payments and e-commerce space, you know. And I think I had the pleasure to work at, in a very established scale-up, I would call Booking.com, because they're relatively lean compared to the, size and the volume they generate. And then Klarna was a full-on scale-up, right? In the rise where Snoop Dogg came along and the valuation just grew so much. And then I thought to myself, okay, I need to try out more corporate, environment, but I also just different corporations. So I went to Amazon, which was extremely corporate, right? I think it's the biggest company in the world. I think they have like 1.5 million employees overall. I mean, it's huge. And you need to be corporate if you're that big, right? And then I tried out a startup just to see how does it feel for me? And I really found the sweet spot in Scaleups because I need some structure and I need to have some background and other people, you know, for motivation and for mentorship and everything, for experience that is in the company already. But having the pleasure now and the opportunity to build a new market or build out the market is really a cool combination of I can do something myself, I can be entrepreneurial, but at the same time, I have some structure in the back. And the key message here really is you need to find where you thrive. Some thrive in the startups much more where there's no processes and you set up the processes. And some thrive in the very corporate where it's very political environment, you know. So you just need to try that out. That's my biggest advice and see what sticks with you and where do you thrive.
Thank you so much. I mean, what a perfect way to end this conversation. Thank you so much, Victoria.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed this conversation, learning from your journey all along, learning about Trustly as well on the way. And we're back at 5 here, so everybody who's listening in can re-listen at this on LinkedIn if they like to, because we are also on LinkedIn with a podcast, and otherwise the Cards Against Complexity will follow with a few online episodes after these recording sessions. Thank you so much, and we'll keep it to the last 15 seconds because that's when the checkout says ka-ching. Thank you.
Thank you.